we shut out the lights of life, our lives begin to take on a whole new reality. And that's why Allah Almighty had to send, at one point in time, there was no need for any books. There were no books. Before Moses and before Prophet Abraham, there were no words to send to the people. I didn't start until the purified pages of Abraham to remind the people that they had minds and that they had a willpower. And they had to use their willpower to develop their minds. Because the mind is what Allah Almighty gave us to recognize Him. But that's only part of the story. But He gave us the willpower to have that mind to submit to a greater part of itself, to be able to go in divine presence. You know what the going in divine presence is? It is the expression of Allah Almighty through your being. When you are not there, there is only Allah Almighty. This is what we have not reached. And what we are reaching, what we are living, what we are expressing through ourselves is a low, undeveloped mentality. An animal thinking, walking, talking devil. Allah talks about devils of humankind. And when one is not developing their minds, we can never establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. So, Allah sent the trials and tribulations. And there is even though Allah says, don't you say you're going to believe without being tested, those tests and those trials and tribulations are really, in reality, mental stimulation, will building, character builders. Because as soon as we get in the jam, we cannot get ourselves out of. The one very spark in ourselves calls out to something to help us. If you're in a deep hole, in a well, you're going to look up and call up. And that is the beginning of using one's mentality. And then we may even try to formulate some kind of way so we may climb out of this hole, knowing that we're going to need something more than just ourselves. That's why those trials and tribulations come. They are really mercies. They are really blessings. Because if we're not using our wisdom and just saying, and just keeping our hearts open and our minds open and just following obedience and just being an obedient servant, then Allah Almighty would have never had any need to send any prophets to us to remind us, hey, what in the hell are you doing? Mm-hmm. You come from Allah, you return to Allah, but you acting like you gave birth to yourself. You acting like you are the first and you are the last. We even forget that we were once in the womb of our mother. A little sperm drop like a tadpole swimming around. Thousands of them. We don't even think that far. And that's why Allah Almighty must remind us who He is in ourselves. Because there's nothing that cannot be overcome of the human being. And that's why Allah bragged on them. Angels saying, oh, will they shed blood? Will they do things? Will they bring down humanity? Will they bring people to the low life? Will they listen to Shaitan? Because see, it was easy for the angels to say that because angels cannot disobey. It's easy for them to say that. They carrying the throne of Allah Almighty. They in zikr all the time. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't drink. All they do is praise Allah Almighty. Their whole food, drink, and everything and sustenance come from just zikr Allah, remembering Allah Almighty. That's where they get their power from. But Allah told the angels to bow down to Adam, a being that has the ability to be lower than a devil, to be despised not only by themselves, but those who look like them, and be despised by everything in the heavens and in the earth, yet has the ability, through their mentality, using their wills, to be above the angels. That is mighty powerful. That's why Allah Almighty has wiped out civilizations of human beings because of their disobedience, not listening, not developing, not establishing the kingdom of heaven on earth, not making it good for others. I just wiped them out. The people under Pharaoh, Moses, people under Pharaoh, they were there for centuries. And it wasn't until their mentality started to develop, the spark. They started to think that there has to be an alternation of night and day. Yes, there are stars and there are things that happen and people are born. They started to think there must be something greater than this. This cannot be. Why I'm here as a slave to a human being being mistreated. So their mentality started to grow. And they noticed as their mentality started to grow, they started to use their willpower so their mentality could continue to grow. And they started to interact in a different way. Then as they started to grow more and more, their hearts started to ask for real iman. Because their mind, it was just like imagination. They had no other thing to think of but to think of getting out of there. And to get out of such a situation, they couldn't ask Pharaoh. First, they were asking anybody that was riding, can you help us? Can you help us? Asking human beings, can you help me? The very help came from an individual who was among the slave masters, who just happened to be in the vicinity. Just happened to be in the vicinity. But he felt their pain. Because what was planted in him. Yes, he also at one time was a sperm drop in his mama. 9 months in gestation, coming out, not knowing who his parents were, thinking that Pharaoh was his parents. That was his kingdom. That was his glory. Allah said, I wanted to be known, so I created creation. Allah hides. Allah is the hidden. And Allah also is the manifest. Where is Allah hiding? In everybody. Everybody has the same access to Allah Almighty like they have to the sun. And if you don't go out in the sun, never are you going to get the minerals, the vitamin D that we need for our growth and development. Never would the earth produce what it produces without the sun. Not just rain is not enough, water is not enough. We have to have the sun. Here we are. Here we are.